Your work week weather forecast means we check in with our friends at the National Weather Service who have all of the answers to all of our questions about what Mother Nature may have in store for us. Brandon Idlet is here, the older of the two twins. Half a day, man. Good to see you again. It's been a while.
Half a day. Yes, it's been a while. Been off island, doing some traveling and some training, but it is definitely good to be back on Guam, enjoying this heat and humidity that just is not present across the U.S. right now.
There you go. Well, this is apparently something you brought back with you was something that I know all of us should be concerned with, which are a number of swells, which I saw there was an advisory that got put out this morning, and it said it's going to last until the end of the week.
That's right. So we do have some changes in store for the Marianas moving into tonight and the next couple of days. But I want to toss it over to one of my coworkers, Mike Ziobro, one of our lead forecasters,
We know,
who
Mike.
will kind of give the top down with the forecast. He worked the night shift, and so he is going to be the freshest with the latest forecast. So let me turn it over to Mike, and I'm going to switch the camera around. And here we go.
There's my
Good
hey,
morning.
hey, Mike. Good morning, man. So
Hey, good morning.
you had eyes on this all night. So what are you seeing and what are you projecting?
Well, there's like a large storm system to our north, and there's very strong winds up there, gale force, and that's pushing swells into the local area. It's up north of us, and those winds and stuff will stay up there, but the swells will enter the area starting tonight. And then we're looking at this is the current conditions, only 4 to 5 foot seas, but then tonight they increase very rapidly and up to 10 to 12 feet by Wednesday night over the area. And that's the sea heights. And then the swell coming in is going to produce hazardous surf starting tonight at Tinian and Saipan of 7 to 9 feet on north and west facing reefs. And that'll increase to 10 to 12 feet by Wednesday morning.
Whoa.
For Guam and Rota, that's going to come in tomorrow morning, and it'll be like 9 to 11 feet on north and west facing reefs. And that'll stay until about Friday. It might taper off a little bit before then, but it'll still be hazardous. And then by Friday night, we're expecting it to go down below hazardous levels. And then we have, the seas will be up too, up to like we were showing there, 10 to 12 feet. So that's the small craft advisory criteria. And then the winds are going to pick up. And we're looking at maybe 10 to 20, 20, 25 knots Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, maybe gusting to 30 knots on Thursday over the coastal water. So it's going to be hazardous out in the ocean there. Although the showers will taper off. We'll only have isolated showers. It's the most big concern is the ocean effects.
Okay, so what do we anticipate? Obviously, that there is a public safety concern for this, Mike. People that go out, reef walking or reef fishing, or people that try and do, like a little bit of scuba. We want to tell them to stay out of the water. I'm assuming, right? Because it is expected to get like kind of not only very very quite dangerous, but also very very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. Like it's going to ramp up like. Brandon was saying that this one looks like one of those ones a sharp increase, not a gradual, and then there'd be dangerous rip currents, and maybe with the moon approaching their full, you might have a higher tide than usual, so maybe some minor coastal inundation. So that's possible along some of those areas.
Mhm. Now, Mikey, you used terminology earlier when you gave your breakdown and everything at the beginning. This is fascinating, by the way. We really appreciate it as always. You used the term gale force. That's something that's very rarely spoken of in this part of the world. But when you use that phrase and everything, how concerned should we be not only for our own island, but for neighboring countries, neighboring territories, and people like within this part of the world?
Well, that's it's usually I guess you would translate it into what would be tropical storm force winds, but in a non-tropical nature. But these are staying over the ocean, so at this time, we're not expecting anything to impact any of the islands or territories in our forecast area. So it's just producing those swells and surf. Maybe later on, Yap and Palau, because they're in that fetch area, would get some of the effects too. So those areas in the from Guam and the Marianas down to that hot part of Western Micronesia might see some of the sea effects, but the winds will not be here.
Okay, well, Mike, I know you've like basically pulled an all-nighter as per your shift and everything, but we really appreciate the insight. By the way, I'm so jealous of the number of monitors you have to look at. I mean, my cousin's a hedge fund manager and he works on the stock market. He doesn't have that many terminals to look at and everything. So like, I'm green with envy right now.
Yeah, well, we could always add another one, I guess.
Oh, there you go. You can never have too many monitors. And you know, well, speaking
Yep.
of monitor, Brandon, let me pivot back to you because you always talk about monitoring the surf levels and given the fact that these waves are going to come very very fast and get relatively high. You always talk about rip currents and how unbelievably dangerous they can be. How also how difficult it is to come back in. But what would you say to people who are trying to take advantage of like the larger waves? This is something they really need to pay attention to.
That's right. We see these currents across the bays, the popular beaches. The currents are always there. That water is breaking into the waves, is coming onto the reefs, and it goes out through those little cuts in the reef. And so that those currents are always there. But when the surf increases in height, we're getting more water onto the reef, and so those currents get stronger. And so that real concern for tonight and tomorrow, the next few days, is that as this large swell first arrives into the Marianas, there's going to be an abrupt strengthening of those rip currents. And if people are swimming out on the reef doing some fishing, you're going to be caught off guard. Now, the fortunate thing about this, I know there's quite an active surfing community. This would be kind of the conditions that would be favorable for surfing, especially like at the Paseo boat basin. We don't have a lot of wind locally, so it's not going to really chop up those waves. But for people that are fishing that are not accustomed to where those currents are located, watch out and definitely look at the water, look at the waves, and be very judicious about your decision whether to go into the water or not. Otherwise, on the east side of the Mariana Islands, we're still seeing a little bit of the trade wind swell and surf. So it's not as strong as normal since the winds are really breaking down across the area out of the east. But those are going to be the concerns. So be safe.
All right. Well,
one other thing that's maybe very rare to happen here is like people leaving the Upper Harbor thing. When you get these strong northerly swells coming in, when they exit it, there's been some boats that have capsized. So, they might be aware of like that entering and exiting the harbor entrance there to be more cautious.
that's a very good point, Mike. Because if the awesome power of Mother Nature can capsize like a 8,000-pound boat, imagine what it could do to you if you're just like floating around there. So yeah, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, like as Mike and Brandon have said, like they've taken the time to tell you this week, stay out of the water. I mean, it looks really interesting, but just do the safe thing. You know what? Stay home and do your taxes because tax day is coming up and everything like that. But we'll check in with our friends at the National Weather Service next week and see where we are with the waves. So, gentlemen, have a wonderful day as always. We appreciate the info.
Thank you. You too. Have a good day.
All right. Good to see you as always, Mike.